Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Jordan Bateman. He's the Communications Director for the Independent Contractors and Business Association in BC. His website, icba.ca. Welcome back to the show, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
How do you feel now as a taxpayer that you own a pipeline?
Yeah, not great. Not great. I mean, obviously, we were huge supporters of the pipeline. You're talking about 15,000 construction jobs. We're a construction association, so that is, paramount importance to us. The problem is, it just boggles our mind that we had a private company ready to spend $7.5 billion in this country, and we essentially chased them out because of our incompetence and our willingness to bow to the pressures from the U.S. Paid protesters. So, John Horgan screwed this up. You can lay the blame on him for billions in tax dollars that are going to have to be spent on this. Justin Trudeau didn't do much better. He completely underestimated Horgan's resolve and just what Horgan would do to remain in that premier's office with Andrew Weaver's support. And here we are. Now we own a pipeline that we didn't need to own.
Is it a resource that Canada does need, though?
Oh, we absolutely need it. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's vital to the economy. It's vital to, correcting a major subsidy that we're giving the United States as far as the cost of oil. But, it didn't have to be this way. We had them on the hook to do the work. And it's frustrating to us that, you just kind of let a private company walk like that. The other concern we have is, listen, this is the first, we always want to make sure there are big projects in the hopper for construction workers to move to and from. Okay, so we have this one ready to go. The problem is, who's going to invest the money for the next one? Who would be crazy enough to come to Canada and start from scratch and try to get an energy or a major construction project going? It's going to scare away investors, and inevitably, it's going to cost jobs down the road.
There's a question here that a lot of people are wondering, would twinning the pipeline lower the price of gasoline in Vancouver?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big problems we have is constrained supply. When you have, when you're able to transport more fuel or more oil or more heavy bitumen through a second pipeline, you're able to bring more supply to the refineries in the States in Cherry Point that do our work and whatnot. So yeah, it was, looking at what GasBuddy.ca, Dan McTeague suggests, you're talking about between, 10 and 15 cents cheaper gas, once all is said and done. And we need to remember as well, by having a second pipeline, you're able to put, products from Alberta into that and not have to ship them by rail, which could lower the cost of rail for other products coming to and from the Lower Mainland. So, you may have seen a ripple effect in a few other goods becoming cheaper as well.
Well, too, and we also have Prairie provinces that want to see the pipeline because right now they can't get their grain to BC.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all sorts of problems. You and I are going to talk in a few minutes about steel. This is another big problem. If you're trying to bring steel from back east, as it may have to happen, you're talking about paying a huge premium to get it onto these trains because these trains are chock-a-block full.
Do you think people are too tied up on the emotional issues around the pipeline rather than the actual environmental and economic issues?
Yeah, I think that they've bought into a bunch of lies and myths spread by the anti-pipeline people that just are completely false. I mean, how many times, Jim, have we heard, about the 7 times, increasing tanker traffic in the Strait by 7 times? Well, that's complete malarkey. Number one, there's dozens of tankers that flow through there. that isn't counted in that original number. They go to and from Alaska. And, this 7 times tanker traffic, we're talking about 1 more tanker a day. So when you put it that way, like, we're doing all of this for 1 more tanker a day that will be the safest ship in all of the harbor because of all the rules around it. It really is kind of mind-boggling. But, that is the nonsense that the anti-oil people spread. They don't care about facts. They just want to keep that oil in the ground because they're out to force, calamitous societal change far faster than we're ready to do it.
There have been studies that were just released the other day showing that there will probably be a drastic drop in the use of oil in 15 to 20 years when electric cars become more popular. But what do we run our cars on in the meantime?
Well, exactly. It's fuel. And, bluntly, I remember being on council in Langley in 2006, 2007, and all the conferences were about how we'd hit peak oil. And, we're actually going to run out of oil, so you need to start adapting your city to life without oil. Well, 10 years, 12 years later, we're producing more oil in the world than ever before. Peak oil is decades, if ever, away. It really doesn't matter. So, yeah, this is the myth that the other side always spreads, and it's unfortunate because so many people just buy into it emotionally without, digging into the facts. And, if you're on Twitter and out there, a great person to look at their Twitter feed is radio host in Victoria, CFAX's Adam Sterling. Here's a guy who you'd expect to be right on side with the environmentalists fighting this, but he actually took a hard look at the facts and came away with a completely different perspective. And it's been refreshing to see that, people like him, like Blair King, environmental technician, technologist who lives in Langley, people like that who are, trying to at least fight the hair on fire crowd with some factual information.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after the break.
Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. Work programs are underway in Finland and planned for Canada this summer. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol ADD, on Frankfurt symbol 82A1, and the OTCQB symbol ASDZF. Please visit our website arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol CYP, the Pink's CYDVF, and on Frankfurt's C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, are your members scared spitless about steel tariffs, and not just the U.S. putting tariffs on Canadian steel and Canada putting tariffs on U.S. steel, but could this spin into some kind of international trade war?
Yeah, this is going to be a huge story this summer, Jim, and it's one that we're just starting to get our minds around. And if people haven't heard about it yet, they are going to in the next 60 to 90 days. So here's what's going on. We know that Donald Trump recently put tariffs on Canadian steel entering the United States, and in response, Justin Trudeau immediately slapped a tariff on American steel entering Canada. Here's the problem for British Columbia. About 40% of the steel we use to make rebar comes from the United States. Another 50% comes from other countries. So there's kind of 7 countries in the world that ship a lot of steel to British Columbia that we turn into rebar. Turkey, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, Taiwan, and a little bit from Singapore. So those 7 countries now ship us about, for about 50% of our steel that we use for rebar. In British Columbia, we use about 400,000 tons of rebar every year. So this is a lot of steel. Now, here's the problem. There's a lot of talk, a lot of pressure from the Eastern Canadian steel mills that to replace the lost market in America, that we should slap a tariff on all of these countries, on steel coming from these countries into Canada. The problem with that is only about 10% of the Lower Mainland or British Columbia's rebar, steel rebar, comes from Canadian sources. So if you slap a tariff on this, you're going to force us to source more steel from Eastern Canada, and the cost to transport that across Canada compared to from Asia is 4.5 times. All that to say, our guys tell us we're talking probably 25-30% price jumps in the cost of steel rebar. And, we can go through the list of projects in a couple of minutes here. Rebar, there's a huge demand for it because, of course, it literally undergirds everything that we're building in this province.
Well, there's nothing made with concrete that doesn't have rebar in it.
Yeah, exactly. Every road, every condo building, every dam, everything. Think of everywhere you see, concrete. So let me give you some numbers as to the amount of rebar that's used. The Site C Dam will take 36,000 tons of rebar. An LNG plant, so if LNG Canada went ahead, that would need about 14,000 tons of rebar. The sewage treatment plant being built in North Vancouver needs 12,000 tons of rebar. And the Kinder Morgan pipeline needs about 16,000 tons of rebar. Well, now start doing the math, right? Like Patello Bridge, SkyTrain, these are all going to be huge rebar producers. If you add 25 or 30% cost to that, you're talking about tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in more public costs, simply because we're catering to the Eastern Canadian steel mills.
Do you think Prime Minister Trudeau will fall into that trap?
Here's the problem. Who's out here defending BC's interests? Well, Premier John Horgan. If you were Justin Trudeau, would you do any favors for John Horgan, Jim? Right
now, he wouldn't be on my Christmas card list, no.
Exactly. So here's where this, impetuous, stupid fight we're having with the rest of Canada is going to come back and again bite British Columbia taxpayers. It already bit us that we had to buy the pipeline. Now it's going to bite us again when we end up paying higher, steel rebar costs, bloating the cost of public projects. I see, Adrian Dix was just in Surrey this morning talking about a new critical care center for Surrey. Wonderful. Bet you it's going to be made of cement. Bet you it's going to need rebar. All of this is just going to drive up costs. And, frankly, if I were Justin Trudeau, what do I care if John Horgan blows through his budget on things like Site C and SkyTrain and light rail and the Patello Bridge. Probably won't shed a single tear for old John Horgan.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after this.
I'm Greg Johnston, CEO of Carl Data Solutions, an industrial Internet of Things company that provides big data solutions for monitoring critical infrastructure. Carl Data offers machine learning and predictive analytics features through our cloud-based applications to deliver key asset-saving operational insights from massive amounts of data. Carl Data trades on the CSE, symbol CRL, and the PINX, symbol CDTAF. For more details on Carl Data, please visit carlsolutions.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, does your association have concerns about the referendum that'll happen in BC this fall about what kind of voting system we'll have in the future?
Yeah, we have very grave concerns about the idea of moving to proportional representation. But first past the post isn't perfect. The current system, there are definitely hiccups to it, definitely flaws. But it's kind of like Winston Churchill used to say, first past the post is the worst form of democracy except for all the others. The problems with first past the post pale in comparison to what's being suggested by the NDP and David Eby in his referendum. You're talking about three systems, two of which have never been used in the world. You're talking about a third system which has been proven to just render constant minority governments, backroom deals, often, years between, leaders being able to stitch together a governing coalition, political and economic instability, the rise of far right and far left parties that cause, even more problems in trying to negotiate coalition. It's just a flawed system. And, frankly, we're trying to fix a problem we don't have. Like, first past the post is not broken. Why are we trying to fix it? We're very concerned because we know that investment goes to places where there's economic and political stability. John Horgan's already destabilizing us with his crazy, ripping up contracts with Kinder Morgan and dragging them through court and flip-flopping in court on provincial government position. If you start to add in proportional representation to the mix and constant minority governments, it's very clear nothing will get done in this province.
Do you think, again, this is just because the Green Party is supporting the NDP right now that they're doing this referendum? Because I don't remember it being an issue in the provincial election.
Yeah, I mean, it was in their platform, but it was one of those, it certainly wasn't as gung-ho as they are now. You're absolutely right. John Horgan has proven time and again he'll do absolutely anything he can to stay in that premier's office. And the only way he can stay in there is if he curries for the favor of Andrew Weaver, Sonia Furstenau, and Adam Olsen, the Green Party caucus. And, so he'll do whatever it takes. And for the Green Party, you can understand why they want it. Right now they've only been able to win 3 seats ever. They believe that under a proportional representation system, they would get more like 15 seats. And then, you'd have people chasing and kowtowing to their every whim forever, trying to bring them into governing coalitions. That's not great for British Columbia. It doesn't make sense. We haven't even talked about the goofy process EB's put in place. No riding maps, no understanding of whose MLA will disappear, how these lists will be generated by party headquarters, things like that. It's just a bad system. And if you're wanting more open and transparent government, moving to a system where party bosses have all the power is not the way to do it.
Some people cite the problems you see in Italy back to their proportional representation. Is that what we could look forward to in BC? Yeah,
I think so. I definitely think so. I mean, I think in the 70 years since World War II, Italy has had something like 58 governments. Think about that. It's like almost one a year. How do you do any long-term planning? How do you do any, how do you set any agendas? How do you show any kind of stability? You can't. So this is the problem. Look, even Angela Merkel, who, we'd argue is a once-in-a-generation world-class political talent, even she hasn't been able to stitch together. It took her weeks, months to stitch together coalition governments in Germany to allow her to continue to lead that country. So if you have, generational world talents in politics unable to do it, like, you really think John Horgan and Andy Weaver can do it? Like, it's just embarrassing to even consider that. So, look, the devil is always better than the devil you don't. First past the post is the way to go. It provides stability. Even when the NDP are in power, which drives ICBA crazy because of their ideological points of view and lack of evidence-based decision making. Even then, though, at least we know for a period of time that they're in charge, that they have a mandate to govern, and he can work to defeat them in the next election. We don't have that same kind of ability with Prop Rep.
Jordan, another question I have here, nothing to do with voting, but we do have some major projects on the way to BC, the Broadway SkyTrain project, Burnaby, or I should say Surrey Light Rail, and also the reconstruction of the Patello Bridge. Do we have enough skilled construction workers here to do those projects, and can they find an affordable place to live?
Yeah, I'm more worried about running out of rebar before we run out of workers. It's going to be a challenge. There's going to be, things are going to have to be well thought out in a construction timeline that actually makes sense and is clear. But yeah, I think worker-wise we're okay. I mean, obviously we can always use more workers and we're always on the hunt for more. But the skills are there. The worker numbers are there. Will the rebar be there? That is the real question.
Jordan, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Jordan Bateman, Communications Director for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. Their website, icba.ca. Any questions for the show or our guests can be sent to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. And don't forget, every weekend we run This Week in Money, where we talk to some of the top financial minds on planet Earth. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at talkdigitalnetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.